keep it real by talking about what's happening in the industry. Here's what I heard today. Tackle the tough conversations. You talked about housing policy and get rid of a lot of the noise. We appreciate you keeping it real. We want you involved in the conversation. In fact, we've got a comment that just popped up. Welcome to Keeping It Real, everyone. I'm your host and President and CEO of Nick Bailey. You've joined the show that is all about what are the hottest topics right now in real estate and in the news. We're coming to you live off 3 platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And by the way, this is kind of a special episode because we have a live studio audience here at RE/MAX World Headquarters. So a big welcome to them as well. There they are. Giving them a little quick behind the scenes look. Now, as we talk about certain topics, there's a saying that a good friend of mine several years ago said, Nick, do you know in real estate, there's always a boogeyman. And if there isn't one, we'll make one up. And I think right now, today's episode's topic falls exactly within that category. So speaking of that, what's new, what's hot? Let's check out what's been in the news. This has been the hottest topic, not only in real estate, but it's hitting headlines everywhere, affecting children, schools. Should it be banned? Is it cheating? It's all about AI. Now, artificial intelligence is not new to the real estate industry or our lives. It's something happening behind the scenes that sometimes we don't even know. But what's different now are there tools like ChatGPT, Bard, Jasper. There are these type of tools that are now coming out at our fingertips to help us in our daily lives, whether that be for content, it may also just be for information, or it may be help driving your business. And so when we look at some of these AI tools, and especially these most recently that we're going to talk about today, I have a saying, in this industry, technology will not replace a real estate agent, but a real estate agent that doesn't adopt some tech will get replaced. And those are 2 very different ways of looking at it. But as we think of today's topic, we need to say, is this a disruptor? I've always hated that word. I think consumers are disruptors. But for the sake of today's discussion, we're going to talk about ChatGPT and some real life examples of how it's impacting this business. Should you be taking advantage of it? And if so, how do you do it? Now, before we get into talking with our special panelists, we want to hear from you. This show is about your interaction. So make sure to post comments, give us questions and ideas. We may even display your comment or question live on the show. So you can answer this question as we get started. You can scan the QR code or click the link, and here it is. With tools like ChatGPT, Jasper, Bard, etc., are they going to wreck our lives or help us kind of reclaim valuable time? What do you think? Wreck our lives or reclaim valuable time? Answer that question. We'll visit that at the end of the episode. Okay, let's jump right into today's topic. And to do so, I'd like to welcome 2 accomplished guests in this area. Mr. Michael Thorne from RE/MAX Lifestyles in British Columbia. Hi, Michael. Nice to see you again.
Hey, Nick.
Cool studio, by the way. And we have Kai Larson. He is an associate professor of information management from University of Colorado Boulder, but he's joining us all the way from his trip in Germany. Kai, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Nick.
Well, I absolutely was looking forward to this industry because, Michael, obviously you are no newcomer to real estate. And then to bring Kai in kind of to help us look at this, let's jump right into the questions. And Kai, I want to start with you, especially as a professor. And there's a lot about this within students' worlds about how this technology is impacting our lives. What's your high level of where we are and what we're seeing with these type of tools?
Yeah, good question, Nick. I think we're at the very starting point of these technologies. It sounds strange to say it given all the things that ChatGPT and these other tools are already doing, but we are barely scratching the surface on what these tools will do, as they are very much driven by access to all human knowledge previously created, and the speed of processing to decompose that information. And both of those are increasing very fast. So we can also expect these tools to get better.
And in your world, give us one or two examples of where you're seeing the highest use cases right now.
I think that the thing I like the most about it, and I think that those who pay attention will benefit the most from, is ideation or creation of ideas. Of course, it does wonderful things like help. It's better at us than good grammar and writing and so on already, and it outperforms my painting skills easily, any of these tools. But really coming up with ideas based on what's already out there seems like a really good starting point, if the ideas are not perfect to begin with.
That's a good point. We'll talk about that being perfect. Michael, let's go over to you. Now let's talk real estate specific because you're kind of into this. What's your overarching take of how this is affecting our industry?
Yeah, I agree with Kai. We're just getting started. If you think about the impact that the internet has had on real estate, I mean, it's such a greater impact in the last 10 years than it was at the beginning in 1995 when we sort of all got our hands on the internet for the first time. I think that's where we are with AI. I think this is Internet 1995, and it's going to have a huge impact. But then you use the word disruption. Every single time I hear that word, I just see opportunity. Like it depends on how you want to look at the lens. I just see opportunity, and it'll come down to the user and not the tool. And I think that will make the big difference long term because you can make it do some remarkable things through prompting it the right way. And that will apply to any of these AIs. Prompting will be the key skill set.
Okay, so we both agree, or we all agree, it's kind of early. I mean, we acquired a company 3 years ago here at Remax that was all based on AI. So it's not new, right? We kind of agree that it's not new, but I do think what we all just said, it's really new on how we really begin to implement and use it at the street level. So I think we all agree on that. So Michael, give us an example, specifically, how are you using it? Let's get into some of the how-tos.
Well, I agree with Kai a little bit. I love it for brainstorming. I love it for this idea of creating ideas. I was doing some training for some agents. And what I had it do was I had it go and look at all the blog posts this one real estate team had created and instantly analyze all those blog posts and give me 10 more ideas of blog posts that would underpin their already existing topical authority that they've created. And you think about what it would take to research that. And just by simply creating a really great prompt, giving it access to that person's website, by directing it to the website, saying, analyze all this content and then give me 10 more ideas that fill in the gaps where we've missed opportunities to connect with buyers and sellers. And in seconds, it gives you this information, 10 more blog posts. And the great thing about it, it never gets exhausted. It never gets tired. You can say 10 more and 10 more and 10 more. And so this ability to analyze, create, and brainstorm ideas from a different perspective is phenomenal. I think one of the big keys, Nick, is every single time you sit down, specifically with ChatGPT, you're sitting across the table from someone. And I think it's very important that you let ChatGPT know who you're sitting across from, whether that's a content marketer, whether that's a researcher, whether that's a nervous first-time home buyer. You have to give this blank canvas a persona in order to get really valuable content back. And so I think that's the very first thing to do is know who you're sitting down with. If you were to have someone write a mission statement with you, you wouldn't sit down with a random person. You would choose someone to. You would give that person information about your team's ideals and goals and values. They would create content for you. Then you would review that content. You wouldn't just put it up on the internet. And you would suggest changes if it wasn't accurate. And so that's the way we should be doing it the same way too as well, is to identify who we're speaking with and then give it a task to accomplish.
Know your audience and give it context. Okay, now Kai, this has to scare you a little bit. Being a professor at a major university, and he said the word research and it does it all for you. I know you're not specific to real estate, but where is this balance of this is just going to create all of our lives? This is cheating in our adult life, in our business life, in students' lives at your campus. What's your take on where this is going to be?
It's hard to
Ooh,
say.
with that
to be
big,
honest.
I think I hit a hot button, but go ahead. Go ahead anyway.
It's one of those things that anytime I try to predict the future, things go very badly for me. So I'll try and say a little bit about what's going on right now. And we're seeing now journals and associations doing much the same as K through 12s are doing and saying, hey, we really don't want you to use this. I think other players are getting a little bit more nuanced and saying, yeah, this is what I want you to use it for because we can really do quite a bit better than what we're currently doing. So it's a little hard to say where this is going, and I wish I had a much better answer for you, honestly.
No, but I think what you've really brought up is the fact that it might look different a year from now or 3 years from now. Accuracy, I think, is something that's super interesting. And let me ask you this, though, and Kai, we'll start with you on this. We've had things that, whether we want to call them robots or anything that's maybe replaced duties of a human. I look, for example, I have 2 boys, they're teenagers. They don't write cursive anymore. And for some people, they say, oh my gosh, I mean, how can we not be teaching our kids cursive even if they don't use it every day? But the reality is my kids know how to type and barely print. And I always laugh if I get a handwritten thank you, it looks like it's from a 3rd grader. It's probably a 42-year-old because people don't write the way they used to. And we've learned to slowly accept it. How do you think that this will, in comparison to that, replace the human? Will it just add to it? Or do we know yet?
Well, one thing that is a little bit scary about this is that there's already plenty of evidence that when we let technology take over some of our thinking tasks, such as, for example, we already know that when people use Google Maps to get places, and we're already seeing changes in the brain structure of our teenagers. The part that deals with navigation is gone. It's going away, like literally in your brain. So we're probably going to see some of the same things happening here in terms of thinking up ideas. It may actually very negatively affect our kids if we're not careful. So
now you say
big
negatively affect.
changes.
Negative was your go-to. Do you think that this could also have a positive effect?
I think it's going to have a lot of positive effects. It's my introverted teenager. She's already sad because ChatGPT isn't available on school computers because she uses it to talk to it during the day when she's lonely. So it's going to have just a multitude of impacts in terms of quality of our work, actual output, bottom line. Everything is on the line right now, if you like. So huge changes coming for sure. Many of them very positive, some of them negative. The risks at the societal levels are enormous. So those are some of the biggest worries I have right now, I guess.
So it's the new and latest in Phone a Friend. That's awesome. Okay, Michael, let's go back over. So think about when you first started using it. If we've got agents that are watching to say, okay, this is new, and like we talked about, there are things that are cool about it. There are things that get scary about it. What are your recommendations for an agent to say, here are 2 things on how you might recommend to get started in a positive way to help drive their business?
I think the most important thing to do initially is to decide what your voice is, to analyze your voice in style and tone. And ChatGPT can do that through a simple prompt by asking it to create it. And the vast majority of the prompts that I use now are 2 or 3 prompts deep before I actually ask for a return. I'm seeding it with information. I'm giving it context. But if our buyers and sellers are reading our content, they're on our website, they're reading our blog posts, or even watching our YouTube videos if it's in a teleprompter, and when they finally get to the kitchen table, which is where our industry ultimately always ends up, at the kitchen table, if the person they're getting to know online and getting educated from is not the person they end up sitting across the table from, that will create this disconnect that will result in a suspicion that you aren't the expert you say you are. And I think it's crucial that any output we have ChatGPT do, and I really think I love it for 0 to 80% to get us from a blank page to an idea, then to put our spin on it, edit it, check for bias, check for accuracy. So 80 to 95% back to us, and then put the final touches on with ChatGPT by asking it to improve something and write in our voice. It's imperative that the output is in our voice, whether that's super engineer, techie, data driven, or whether it's more the creative side. We have to always prompt it to speak in our voice to avoid this disconnect. And I think people that use ChatGPT well, like you say, will have a huge advantage over those that don't, and over those that don't do it well.
I love that comment. So make sure, don't just start putting out the output without making it your own, because in time, you're going to lose who you are. But okay, let me ask you this, Michael, then, to say, gosh, it's telling you what blog post, which is marketing. It's telling you what to say in a listing description, which is marketing. At what point then do we play boogeyman here and say, Michael, why do I need to hire you? How about I just do a FSBO?
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. This idea that we're going to have it write our listing descriptions, which is like the lowest hanging fruit of ChatGPT, I think it's where we kind of go initially, without having it seeded with our 30 years of expertise. So when I have it do a listing presentation, I've got a long tail prompt on it. And I put in there all the things that I know that home is going to showcase that separates it from the competition. I know who the likely target market is. I know what the features are. And so I'm seeding that information to ChatGPT the way I would seed it to a copywriter sitting across the table from me. I wouldn't just give a copywriter the address and go write a listing description. I would say, write a listing description, and here's what's important about it, and here's what separates it, here's its key features, and here's its value. Here's what separates it from the marketplace. And so this idea of these really simple one-sentence prompts, that's not how you're going to get ahead of the competition. It's about seeding it with content, telling the output, and then checking the results. And so I think our expertise is even more important now. I don't think this levels the playing field. I think it does the complete opposite for agents. I think it makes a huge separation for those that use it and use it well.
I think that's a really, really good point. Okay, so let's change things up. I want to get your reactions to a few things. We watch what's happening online and what the chat is out there. So let's take a look at what some of the recent buzz has been around this. There is definitely no shortage, but I want to get your reaction to these. Let's take the first one. Here's one from Stephen Dennis. It says, pretty sure ChatGPT could generate a better real estate listing than most of what you see on Zillow. Ooh.
Completely agree, Nick.
Michael's going first. I wasn't even going to say who was going to go first.
Completely agree, because I think the average real estate agent doesn't market really, really well. I think they're right. I think they're right. I think technology like this exposes the people that aren't the best of the best. You know what I mean? I don't think it threatens the people that are the best of the best. And unfortunately, I love this industry. It has been phenomenal to me and my family. But I think the average marketing that our industry does doesn't serve the client as best as we think it does.
So if we use this the right way, everyone might be able to up their game just a little bit. Kai, what's your response to that? I know it's pretty real estate specific, but I'm sure you've looked at some houses online. What do you think?
Oh, I'm addicted to Zillow, I must admit. I agree with Michael.
Next time I need you to say Remax on that. Just keep going.
That's what I meant, of course.
Yeah, of course.
We have now, I would say that, first of all, you have good real estate agents, you have bad real estate agents. And how I pick one is that I ask them to write the description of my home. That's how I figure out who I'm going to work with. So of course, someone who can actually do a good job with that, whether with help from ChatGPT or not, that's who I'm going to go with.
Now, you're an expert in this space. Would you be able to tell if someone used a tool like this right out of the gate? Or, I mean, this is kind of your world. Can you tell the difference?
I think the difference here is going to be whether Remax helps its agents actually get better at this or creates additional tools on top of ChatGPT that does a better job than real estate agents that don't have access to this special tool that is actually, like Michael said, been trained on 30 years of expertise within Remax and does a much better job right off the bat. But I think at the end, I think Michael and also you, Nick, earlier said, which I think is a key here, you start with something that's been trained to do a good job in this area, and then you add the human being who's an expert to improve it further. And there's already now research evidence out of some colleagues of mine, Tian Lu and Yingji Zhang, who have shown that human beings can compete with artificial intelligence in large data tasks. But if you have the tool explain to the person, to the expert, how it got to its solution, then the human being can actually improve on the AI's performance. And this is where I think we're going, at least in the intermediate term.
I think that is spot on. Good responses from both of you. Okay, let's look at the next one. Mario Brown, how do you all plan to leverage ChatGPT and AI in your real estate business, if at all? And then you go down to Barrett. He says, chatbots could be used in CRE to assist with tasks such as answering customer questions, providing property info, or helping schedule viewings. Could potentially improve efficiency and allow real estate professionals to spend more time on other tasks. So I guess to narrow it down, Ty, let's start with you. Is this going to be a time saver for people, or are people going to get sucked in and spend a lot of time on it? What do you think?
I think that it's going to come down, well, it does suck up time. I'm guessing Michael can back me up on this. He probably loves it and spends a lot of time with it. But I think at the end of the day, once we get sort of used to it, I think we're going to focus on using it for productive applications. The challenge here, I think, and not to put you on the spot, Nick, but what are the tools that can be created here by a company like yours? It might be picking listing pictures, that are more effective at selling. It might be automatically editing the listing pictures to replace one type of chair that doesn't look very good with a really nice chair or a table. So it basically comes down to staging, right? Can you do auto staging of a home? Make it better than what it looks like. Alert the real estate agent that, oh my God, there's a lot of pictures of this family in the house. Let's get rid of those.
Are you sure you're not in real estate?
I told you earlier,
he's addicted
Nick,
to
I
Remax,
love
Nick.
to browse Remax.com.
Good. Very good student. I appreciate it. Michael, what do you think? Like, is this just sucking your time, or is it actually making you more efficient?
No, absolutely making me more efficient. It's getting me from zero, and our whole team, Jordan, Trish, and I, and I presented it to the whole team, and our assistant Jody, the moment that I presented, she goes, oh, there's 4 of me now. And I found that comment that you just put up on the screen very interesting, that the default mindset was to put the technology between the agent and the consumer. Scheduling showings, answering questions. Being paperless has been around for a long time. DocuSign. Digital signature shouldn't be between you and your client. It should be behind you. And so this tech should be behind us doing the tasks that allow us to be more present for our clients. Sometimes showing up at 11:45 at night isn't good customer service. That's when you should send a DocuSign. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be using it all the time in order not to spend time with your customer. And so I find it very interesting that, and once again, it comes down to everyone's talking about the new wrench, this ChatGPT, and they're not talking about the mechanic. And I think today we're talking a little bit more about the mechanic and how that will make the difference. This tech shouldn't come between you and your consumer. It should allow you to spend more time with your client.
That's really good. I love that saying. I'm going to steal that from you, Michael. I think it was just at our convention a week ago, Jared James said something about mechanicking. He said he knew it's not a word, but the mechanic used the wrench maybe 30 years ago. Now they use the computer, but you still need the mechanic to diagnose and take care of the work. I think that's really well done. Okay, let's do this. Let's go back top of the hour. Let's take a look at the poll. Would like to revisit. Is this going to wreck our lives? Is it going to reclaim time? Let's see what our viewers decided to say. Guys, do you have a gut? Ooh, oh, wow. 85.3. This is going to wreck your life. That's awesome. And reclaim valuable time is 14.7. Woo, react, gents. I did not see that coming.
Nick, I think a lot of that comes down to, so I've been obviously for the last month or so, speaking with doing training with agents all across North America, all across Europe, working with associations, working with broker owners. I think when you don't know what the tool can do, when you don't know something, I think the initial is fear. But I can tell you the thousands of agents that I've helped train over the last month or so are in that reclaim, in that 14.3%. I think that's a very human thing to go, this is new. I'm scared of it. I don't know how it's going to work. Show me an example. Show me how this can help. But I think if people were really to bite into it, you wouldn't, that result doesn't shock me, but I think it would change dramatically if you were more educated on the platform.
Fair enough. Kai, what's your final reaction to that?
I agree with both groups. I think in the short to intermediary time scale, we're going to see it improving our lives. It's going to make it more interesting. It's going to make those who use it more effective. Unfortunately, in the long time, I suspect that we're looking at a centralization type tool that can be used to control people, that can be used to keep dictatorial leaders in charge for the longer term. We're generally being lucky enough that human beings will die off and new leaders come in, and that can lead to change in the long run, good change. But once you structured society around these tools, and we have countries that do this already, it gets risky. And right now, if I may just quickly say, we're learning from the Microsoft version of ChatGPT that it can hold a grudge, if you like. I mean, it probably doesn't actually, but it looks like it holds a grudge if it gets access to information about you that you didn't put into the prompt yourself. And if we give it the ability to do things, now it can actually do things we don't want it to, right? And I suspect that it's really the bad actors who are going to be using this to do things automatically, like send out emails to millions of people on the daily, post billions of messages that destroy our societal structure. There is this serious risk, and I think politicians need to get involved on that part of it.
Nick, can I say that my response was in connection with the real estate industry and with realtors, and Kai is talking much higher level. I was talking realtors reclaiming time in their business, spend more time with family and service their clients.
It's okay. Let the guilt go, Michael. You're okay. But I do have to say, we always talk, it's keeping it real here on this show. And I think, Kai, you win the prize. It's the first time that someone said we're lucky enough that people die. So that's a new winner here at Keeping It Real. But gentlemen, hey, this is a conversation we will obviously keep going. I believe that we are at the forefront. I just want to thank you both for joining us. Terrific insight.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Kai.
Thank you.
Okay, as we wrap up today, certainly an interesting topic. I think I want to keep going. We just got started. But I want to give you my final offer for today. I listened to today's conversation. A couple of things I really heard today, which is, one, you have a choice when things like this are new. It creates change. And I think it's easy as human behavior to go negative first, then positive. We saw that in the discussion today. I think we've got to be open, look at both before just arriving and going to one first. Second, be who you are. Your personality in a relationship-driven business will always be your best asset in working with buyers and sellers. And no matter what tools come along just to help us be more efficient and better at what we do, you, the agent, are still the most important part of the transaction. And number three, let's be open that this will look different a year from now than it does today, and it will 2 or 3 or 10 years from now. But we've got to keep our minds open to stay up with the future, because I'm not following Kai's advice that we have to die first before we get used to this. We're going to figure out how to adopt it in our business. So that's my final offer. Thanks for joining us today. Special thank you again to Kai and Michael for being great guests on this episode. Mark your calendars. Our next episode will be coming up June 12th, 2023. And of course, we'll be coming to you live again from YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And I know we'll have another great episode to keep the conversation going. So thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep it real, everyone.